I am standing in actually today for Jane Halbert, who is working with the governor-elect training this week, and she can't join us. And so I'm standing in for Jane. What you will see is the presentation that Jane has put together regarding the Rotary Foundation. And then following this presentation, we'll have some time for question and answer and a follow-up piece of information by David Hellman, who's our district grants chair for District 5150. So here we go. Oh, am I muted?
Greetings, Rotarians and friends. Welcome to the Learning and Leadership Virtual Assembly 2021 presented by District 5150. My name is Jane Hulbert, your Rotary Foundation Chair. This session on doing good in the world will provide you information about the Rotary Foundation. Joining me today to answer your questions after this presentation are from the Rotary Club of Mission Santa Fe, David Hellman, Grants Committee Chair. From the Rotary Club of Foster City, Cindy Sims, District Grants Coordinator. From the Rotary Club of Menlo Park, Michelle Choi, Area Foundation Coordinator and Club Foundation Chair. And from the Rotary Club of Novato Sunrise, Jackie Bonner, Co-Chair of the Polio Plus Society. This session on doing good in the world will provide you information about the Rotary Foundation. The mission of the Rotary Foundation, or as I like to call it, our foundation, is to enable Rotarians to advance world understanding, goodwill, and peace through the improvement of health, the support of education, and the alleviation of poverty. In 1917, Arch Klump was the president of Rotary International. During his term, he said, "It seems eminently proper that we should accept endowments for the purpose of doing good in the world." And with that, the Rotary Foundation was established. In 1917, the first donation was $26.50. The first grant from the Rotary Foundation was provided to the International Society of Crippled Children for $500, and that was in 1930. This organization dedicated itself to assisting children who had disabilities, including those who experienced polio. And how prophetic is it that today we continue our fight to eradicate polio? All of Rotary's service relates to one of our areas of focus. The Rotary Foundation trustees and Rotary International Board of Directors both unanimously approved adding a new area of focus, protecting the environment. More than $18 million in foundation global grant funding has been allocated to environment-related projects over the past 5 years. Creating a distinct area of focus to support the environment will give Rotary members even more ways to bring about positive change in the world and increase our impact. Grant funds become available for protecting the environment effective July 1, 2022. We have a very special guest with us today. She is a great friend to our district and has served as the past chair and is a current trustee of the Rotary Foundation. Please welcome Brenda Cressy.
Good day, everyone. I'm Brenda Cressy, trustee and past chair of the Rotary Foundation. And I'm here today to thank each of you, the generous Rotarians and supporters of the foundation, right here in this great district. Each of us understands Rotary's #1 humanitarian priority. It's Polio Plus. And I'm so proud of the incredible and continued and generous support of polio eradication from this district each and every year. Every Rotarian should also be extremely proud of the plus in Polio Plus, which has allowed the world to address the many issues of COVID-19 around the globe due to the infrastructure built by Rotary for polio. Additionally, I want to especially acknowledge the significant and impactful district and global grant initiated by the collective clubs in this district. Seeing the many ways clubs continue to serve their communities despite the pandemic is incredibly inspiring to me, as it's happening all over the world. I'm always struck by your generosity, support, and passion for our Rotary Foundation. And so often I'm reminded that each Rotarian has his or her own reasons for getting involved with Rotary and supporting our programs. I hope that each of you will find that special foundation program or project that continues to make you most passionate and therefore will inspire you to continue supporting our foundation to the best of your ability. In other words, think about Rotary's People of Action public image campaign, where it states, together we can change a life. Together we can provide clean water. Together we can educate, and together we will change the world. And yes, together we can and do make a difference. It's because of our Rotary Foundation and you that people around the world recognize Rotary as an agent of positive change. Thank you.
Rotary's #1 humanitarian goal is the eradication of polio. 2 countries remain endemic to polio, Afghanistan and Pakistan. Only 2 cases of wild polio virus have been reported this year, 1 in each of these 2 countries. Polio, or poliomyelitis, is a viral infection causing nerve injury, which leads to partial or full paralysis and sometimes death. Polio typically affects children. Here you see a mother reading to her 6-year-old child through a basement window during the 1949 polio epidemic quarantine. In the 1940s and 1950s, fear spread around the world because no one knew what caused this highly infectious disease. Quite frankly, it was similar to today's coronavirus situation. Today, more than 19 million children are walking because of our immunization efforts. We've reduced polio cases by 99.9%. Along with our partners, we have helped immunize more than 2.5 billion children against polio in 122 countries. Last year, the United States Mint issued a commemorative $1 gold coin honoring Dr. Jonas Salk, the creator of the polio vaccine in 1953. As Dr. Stalk said, hope lies in dreams, in imagination, and in the courage of those who dare to make dreams into a reality. While our 35-year fight to eradicate polio isn't quite over, our medical surveillance networks that we've developed with our partners are now supporting preparedness and responses in many countries. Thousands of our polio workers are now poised to deliver the important vaccine against COVID-19. We should all be very proud that Rotary is a World Health leader. How can you help support the eradication of polio? Join our district's Polio Plus Society. Here are our Polio Plus Society co-chairs from the Rotary Club of Pacifica, Steve Wright, and from the Rotary Club of Nevada Sunrise, Jackie Bonner.
Just think if you donated that $10 a month to Rotary, to our Polio Plus Society, you'd become a society member, you would be helping children, and you would be a world-class hero.
A hero?
A hero.
I never thought about that before, but well, let's see. Let me look at that pin again.
Here it is. Doesn't get a whole lot better, does it?
You know, that would look really good on a lot of my outfits, but I have to join the society to get one, right?
You do. It's a
Oh,
simple
dear.
form. You go to our district website, you fill out the simple little commitment form, you send it to me, and we will enroll you in the Polio Plus Society as our newest District 5150 hero.
Well, so how long do I have to sign up for?
Only until we eliminate polio, when World Health Organization certifies that we have finally ended polio now. And the sooner you sign up and all of your Rotarian friends, the sooner we are done and the sooner your commitment is over.
Well, if we're this close, it won't be for very long, Steve, will it?
It will not indeed. Go online today, be a hero.
But you know, the one thing I don't understand, and that is if it's only $10 a month, why doesn't everyone join? It's such a good idea. I spend more than that in a week on coffee.
I don't have a good answer. All I can tell you is the best solution for all of us is if everybody signs in and becomes a member of the Polio Plus Society.
I know I will.
Excellent. Jackie, you're in. Thank you.
Rotary International President Holger Knock's theme this year is Rotary Opens Opportunities. This past year has been like none other. The world has faced a pandemic and unprecedented violence. As Rotarians, we have many opportunities to continue to do good in the world. Now more than ever, we need to find more peaceful approaches to modern day life. Rotary Peace Centers have trained over 1,300 Peace Fellows to become effective catalysts for peace through careers in government, education, and international organizations. Our district is in the process of identifying individuals to apply for this impressive all-expense-paid fellowship. Within the past few weeks, a very generous Rotarian donated $15 million to create a new peace center in the Middle East. The Rotary Foundation provides funding for a variety of grants, most notably global grants and district grants. District grant funds are available for you to provide a variety of service projects in your local community. And examples of district grants might include scholarships to Rotary Youth Leadership Award camps, literacy projects for children, including the provision of Chromebooks and dictionaries for third graders, food for low-income families and seniors, and community gardening and fencing. Global grants are large international projects that are sustainable, and these projects range anywhere from $30,000 to $400,000. And international global grants that our district's been involved in include clean water projects, sanitation, scholarships for graduate degree studies, lighting, microcredits, and a whole host of other projects. Disaster response grants are available to districts to respond to a disaster, such as the pandemic. These grants are limited to $25,000, and our district was fortunate enough to receive one of these grants, and all $25,000 was provided to the 2 food banks for our 3 counties. Programs of scale grants is a very large grant that will service a large number of people. And the Rotary Foundation just recently approved a $2 million grant. And this $2 million is part of a much larger grant funded by other organizations, specifically to address the problems with malaria. Annually, District 5150 conducts a fundraising campaign for the annual fund share, known as the Every Rotarian Every Year campaign, also known as E-Ray. The reason for this fundraising campaign is specifically to ask each Rotarian to donate at least $25 to the annual fund share. We're looking for a commitment from our Rotarians and for them to understand where that money goes. The annual fund share is critical to the funding success of district and global grants. Half of the money we donated to the annual fund share just 3 years ago comes back to our district. Let's take a look at what happens to your donation to the annual fund share. When a donation is made to the annual fund share, it is invested for 3 years. Its growth supports the Rotary Foundation's operations. After 3 years, the funds are shared between the World Fund and DDF. That's why the word share is so important when you donate to the annual fund share. Half of the money goes to the World Fund, which funds global grants and programs such as Polio Plus, Rotary Peace Centers, and the Endowment Fund. The other half of the donation is returned to District 5150 in the form of District Designated Funds, or DDF. And DDF can be used for district grants and global grants. Remember, you can use your DDF to any of these or a combination of district and global grants, Polio Plus, Peace Centers, Endowment Fund, or the Disaster Fund. Why do so many Rotarians believe in the work of the Rotary Foundation? Well, they've had 100 plus years of humanitarian work. The foundation has weathered wars, recessions, and more than one pandemic. The foundation has stable reserves. It has conservative investment strategies and enjoys a 4-star rating on Charity Navigator for 13 consecutive years. Let's hear from Michelle Choi from the Rotary Club of Menlo Park, who is passionate about the Rotary Foundation. Michelle is her club's Rotary Foundation chair, and she's also an area foundation coordinator.
The reason why I support the Rotary Foundation and its mission is because it has well-established methods to manage its funds and to monitor projects. Not only will I continue to donate every year, but I have also joined the Bequest Society and have included the Rotary Foundation in my estate plan. It is the one organization that I trust that will make the best use of my donations in my lifetime and beyond.
We know that Rotarians love fellowship, and here's an opportunity to travel with fellow Rotarians and enjoy a wonderful river cruise in France, and at the same time raising funds for the eradication of polio.
Hello, fellow Rotarians. We are excited to share the Rotary Foundation 2022 Cruise, a fundraiser for the eradication of polio. Our special guest is none other than the Rotary Foundation Chair Trustee, Brenda Creasy, who will join us as we sail the Colors of Provence cruise along the Rhone River in France from Lyon to Avignon, departing April 28, 2022 for 7 days. Along the way, we'll be stopping in towns and villages, enjoying included shore excursions with a variety of styles depending on your activity level. This region has tremendous history and UNESCO World Heritage Sites. We'll visit Lyon, Villefranche-sur-Saône, Vignes, Toulon, Tarascon, and Avignon, home to 2 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. In the afternoon that day, you can even experience a tour to a truffle farm where the famous truffle dogs will seek out the highly prized black diamond truffles. Enjoy sampling of these amazing treats. This evening, enjoy a spectacular evening on the top deck of Ama Christina, your home for this adventure, as she sails along the river for an Illuminations cruise of Avignon. So much is included in your Ama Waterways cruise, including unlimited wine and beer and soft drinks with lunch and dinner, and even champagne with breakfast. Fine dining, including the specialty restaurant, Chef's Table. The sip and sail cocktail hour before dinner is the perfect time for Rotary Fellowship and share the experiences of the day. Complimentary Wi-Fi and the AMA app will make sure you are as connected as you want to be. We are thrilled to once again be able to donate $500 per stateroom, $250 for solo travelers, on behalf of Expedia Cruises North Bay and AMA Waterways to the Rotary Foundation in your name, your club, your district. The more Rotarians, the higher the donation. So be sure to encourage friends and fellow Rotarians to join you. On a recent fundraising cruise with AMA and Expedia Cruises, combined with the generosity of the Rotary guest, we raised over $100,000. So join us aboard AMA Waterways' newest ship on the Rhone River, AMA Christina, April 28th, 2022. And when you book by April 30th, you can save $500 per stateroom, $250 for solos. And as you can imagine, with the pent-up demand from last year, 2022 is going quickly. This cruise is exclusively available through fellow Rotarian Carlos Afre at Expedia Cruises North Bay. You can call, email, or for our international Rotarians, he is available on WhatsApp. Join us. Together we can make a difference in the fight against polio and have fun while doing it. We hope to see you aboard.
So join us for this wonderful adventure in France with your fellow Rotarians and the great opportunity to raise funds for the eradication of polio. There are many resources available to you to answer any questions you may have about the Rotary Foundation. You can go to www.rotary.org and find the Rotary Foundation Reference Guide. You can go to zone2627.org and look at the Rotary Foundation Resource Guide. What's especially wonderful about this resource guide is that it has hyperlinks throughout the document. Just click on that blue underlined hyperlink and it will take you to the various online resources. There's also videos that you can watch from that resource guide. You can go to endpolio.org and find out the latest updates about polio eradication. Finally, I encourage you to go to the Rotary Learning Center. There are many courses on the Rotary Foundation, including the Rotary Foundation Basics course. And in addition to these resources, of course, we have many of our Rotarians are experts in a variety of areas. One of the important quotes from Arch Clump is, "Rotary's tomorrow depends on what we do today."
Rotary has never backed away from the hardest challenges. because we're committed to a better, more equitable world. This year is no exception. Staying away from people and places we love in order to keep them safe. And despite the challenges, your generosity continued. Your donations provided more than $7 million to fund coronavirus relief projects in communities worldwide. And thanks to you, citizens of Kigali, Rwanda have their first public library. Women in rural Costa Rica are enriching their communities through social entrepreneurship. At-risk kids in Puerto Rico have an artistic outlet to heal their emotional traumas. Rotary and its partners have reduced 99.9% of polio cases worldwide. Thanks to you, the Rotary Foundation raised $408 million last year. So together, we can keep doing good in the world. Donors who take action help create lasting change. Our work isn't possible without you.
Thank you for all the good you do locally and globally. We encourage you to utilize the programs of the Rotary Foundation in new and innovative ways. Your generous donations will continue to enable Rotarians to do good in the world. Thank you. And now it's time for us to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
All right. So thank you, Jane, very much for your presentation. And let's open for questions. I'll turn it back to Rob to control the mute and unmute.
Very good. I got you there. So I see the first hand for Lewis.
Hello,
Go ahead.
everyone. And yeah, I thought that there was some kind of change made to the DDF coming back to the clubs, or there was, as I recall, there was some kind of change in our normal procedures from past years. Am I wrong about that? And if I'm right, could you just go over that, or someone go over that, please?
I'm going to suggest that David Hellman take that question.
Sure. Yeah, and I planned on speaking about this, so glad you brought it up, Lewis.
If you want to bring it up later, that's fine. I apologize.
No, we might as well do it now. So there's one, the reason for these changes is that global grants have been overly successful, and the match that has come from the World Fund is running out before the end of the Rotary year. So the foundation trustees have been studying this for a while and came up with a new plan to try and allow there enough DDF to come forward from the World Fund to still cover grants and not have to cut people off towards the end of the Rotary year. So there's three basic things that are going to happen. One is, and it relates to funding the costs of operating the foundation. Several years ago, they imposed a 5% cost allocation back to the foundation's staff costs, but it was all allocated to the World Fund. So essentially, the DDF would go 50% back to the districts and clubs that we do, and 50% would go to the World Fund, but then 5% of that amount out of the World Fund would go back to the foundation for operations. The change that they have made is that 5% is now going to be split 2.5% to the DDF going back to the districts and 2.5% to the World Fund. So it will reduce the amount coming out of the World Fund to allow for continuing to do the matches. Now that's not going to be implemented for another 3 years, but that's going to happen. There are two other changes that they have made to the match. Through this year, at least for grants that are global grants that are submitted through May 31st, there is 100% match of DDF for the DDF that's coming through on the global grant. So if there is $1 of DDF going in, there would be $1 of DDF coming for that project out of the World Fund. That percentage is being changed from the fund match down to 80% instead of 100%. Now that 80% match will be effective July 1st of this year. So that is one of the reductions. The other reduction is that they used to match polio contributions 100% also that came from DDF, and that is going to be reduced down to 50%. So those are the three major changes that have occurred. Obviously, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation's match is still 2-to-1 for whatever Rotary puts up. And we have an annual commitment of trying to raise $50 million through Rotary. And so that's part of what needs to happen. And we encourage the clubs to be doing that. But we also, of course, need contributions to the annual fund so that there is DDF available to come back to us. So those are what the major things are that have changed.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Dan, Georgetown.
I'm just curious, David, will these reductions in matching and so forth, can you speculate, will this have any impact on our charity ranking? One thing I've always admired about TRF is the very small amount of money devoted to staff.
Yeah, it shouldn't have any impact there because what it is doing is shifting where that 5% is coming from. So instead of all of the DDF being 50% coming back to the districts, it's going to be 47.5%. And it'll be 47.5% going into the World Fund instead of just 45%. So the overall 5% isn't changing, but it's giving more funds to the World Fund to be able to continue doing matches.
Well, thank you for that clarification. That sounds really good. Can I ask a trivial question?
Sure.
Does anybody know how many people will be on the cruise ship?
I don't have a clue at this point.
You know,
Carlos, can Carlos, you unmute yourself and answer that? Go ahead. You're unmuted, Carlos.
Yeah, the ship holds 150 passengers. Right now, we have 1/3 booked. So we still have a lot of space, although some of the suites are gone. And categories AAs, which are next to the ships, they also booked up. And we have like one single cabin left, but then we have plenty of room. So you can contact me there at Carlos Afre at expediacruises.com. My phone number, 415-215-6442. Thank you.
Carlos, can you put your contact information in the chat as well for us? I'd appreciate that.
Sure. I'll do
Thank
that.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else have questions? Just raise your hand and I'll call on you. Looks like Jane did her presentation perfectly and all the questions are answered. David, do you have anything else you'd like to share with the group then, I guess?
Well, sure, I can always talk forever. Won't keep you on for that long. There are some things too. One of the things that you noted from the chart, one of Jane's charts in her presentation, is that your DDF can go for other things besides district grants and global grants. It can be used to sponsor peace centers. It can be used for the disaster fund. It can be actually put back into the World Fund, or it can go into one of the endowment funds that the foundation has. These do not get matched. They haven't been matched in the past, but those are also other opportunities. So for our district, the way things work in terms of the DDF allocation, for those clubs, well, there's three areas primarily that the DDF is allocated to. One of them is the Global Scholar, which is essentially a global grant that sponsors a international scholar. We have done this for our district for many years, and the club president-elects have been voting for the past several years to allocate part of their club's DDF that would be coming for the next Rotary year to that Global Scholar. And the Global Scholar is $17,500 worth of DDF has been going out for that. Ultimately, that's going to end up increasing just to keep up with this change in the match. But that's one use. Another use is, and that is done usually in the, I'd say, the president-elect's meeting in January or early February before pets. Another use of the DDF is for district grants. Now that allocation has to be made by June 1st, preceding the Rotary year where the president-elect becomes president. And the reason for that is because of our application process to the Rotary Foundation in order to get the DDF. It's a one-time application per district. So we combine all of the club's desires and then submit one application. So in order to be able to do projects early on during the Rotary year, we need to get the money or the DDF back from the foundation for that purpose. We are limited to 50% of the DDF for the district. So sometimes in this past year, we had to cut back on the amount of DDF that some of the clubs were able to get. But that's a process that Cindy Sims handles through the application, and president-elects have been through this webinar training. We had 4 of them over the last 2 months that have shown how to do the global grants application as well as using district grants. So that's the second component. The third component is global grants. There is no time limit on when to submit global grants, but if you want to use any of your club's DDF for a global grant, that has to be notified to the district by a form that comes to me by March 1st of each year. And if you don't tell us how you're going to use up the balance of your DDF by March 1st, then the district will allocate that DDF to clubs that need it to finish off their projects. And if there's excess left over, then we frequently also will send it off to polio. So those are the things that basically happen, and that's how your DDF is used in a real short answer.
David, I have a quick question, and this is kind of representative of some of the smaller clubs that I know that they have a challenge getting their PENs. They have their president-elects for next year, but they're maybe still working on getting that PEN and they don't have them in. What is their alternative for them if they don't have that person who can get the training so as to meet that requirement?
Okay, so we have a requirement for the president-elect, the president-elect nominee, and the Rotary Foundation chair to do certain things. There are alternatives. If you do not have a PEN, you can use your community service chair, or you can use your international service chair to step in and take those trainings and sign the forms on behalf of the PEN that ultimately will be there.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Jackie.
I just wanted to tell everyone that in Jane's presentation, Steve Wright said that you could sign up for the Polio Plus Society by going on the district website. Unfortunately, the commitment letter is not on the district website at the moment, and it is not something that's sponsored by Rotary International. So if you're interested in learning more about it, you can contact me at jackie.bonner@comcast.net. And I should tell you that it's kind of a 2-step process, and it's all done with the 4-way test, is it the truth, etc. And that is, you go to endpolionow.org and you make your donation, and then you complete the commitment letter and send it off to Steve Wright. And you don't have to prove that you've signed up because you're a Rotarian. And of course, you wouldn't send in the commitment letter without having made your donation. It's a minimum of $100 a year, and you can do it monthly or with a one-time check. I just thought I should make that clear. I don't want people going on the website and not being able to find it.
And just to let everybody know, Jackie has so graciously put her contact information in the chat. So if you'd like to run to the chat real quick to jot that down, or if you were not able to get her email as she was reading it off, it is there in the chat. And then I saw somebody was waving, and yes, Dan Georgestad, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Just one more question. I understand, David, from what you said, that the amount of DDF that comes back to the district is reduced by $17,500 for funding a Global Scholar, yes?
Well, it's not reduced from what we come back, but the president-elects vote to use that. So it's part of their club's allocation, and it's gone and used by their percentage of DDF allocation for the district. So
Are there any other such sums of money that diminish the DDF that's used or allocated by the clubs themselves?
well, the clubs actually do that allocation by that vote.
I
of
understand.
President-elects, but no, that's the only thing that comes off at that point. And there are no more that do come off.
Gotcha.
And the clubs have the rest of it for using for district grants and global grants.
Because the allocation system is fairly complicated for how the clubs get money back, it would be interesting to have it reviewed again. It would be enlightening, I think, to a lot of people.
Sure, if you want me to briefly do that.
Do you mind? Do you have time?
Yeah, I think we have time.
We got 10 minutes left in the window, so yes.
Okay. All right, so the way DDF is allocated among the clubs in the district is that we look at how much each club has donated to the annual fund share for the past 3 years. So we look back at what everybody has done, and it includes the current year. As of July 1, it would be the immediately past 3 years. You then add up those contributions for the club, and you compare it to the total of the contributions from all the clubs in the district, and through the division process, you come up with a percentage that each club has for the total of the DDF. So if your club ends up with 2% of the total, then you get 2% of the DDF that's come back to the district for that year is allocated to your club to be used then for this Global Scholar and for district grants and global grants. And by global grants, I also include these contributions to Polio Plus, because you can use your DDF for that. If you choose, you can use it to go to a peace center or one of the other funds. You don't have to use it for a global grant, but that's how it's basically allocated. And then the DDF that's going to be used for district grants has to be committed by June 1st, prior to the year that the person who's the PE becomes president. And global grants have to be allocated by March 1st of the Rotary year. So that's how the allocation process works.
This is Greg. Sorry, I'm on my cell, so I can't wait. But can I ask a question about that?
Yes, please go ahead, Greg.
Cool. Hey, I was just, and this is new to me, so it's probably somewhere on a website or something, but is there a way to see how this stuff actually gets spent for the year? I have no idea how all these DDF funds are actually used. Like, is that public, or how does that work?
Well, I prepare spreadsheets and probably a half a dozen times during the year and send them out to the club presidents and the international chairs, and it lists how much each club is allocated to district grants, and then for any funds that are being used for global grants, there's a specific line item there that says what the amount is and what the contribution is, and that would also include polio. So the spreadsheet does show how the clubs have used their funds for the global grants. In terms of how the clubs have used funds for district grants, Cindy has a spreadsheet that is available if you're interested in that. Normally, it's not publicized out to the clubs, but it is available if somebody's looking for that.
You can also go on our Rotary 5150 website and click on About Rotary, scroll down to district, or scroll down to the, I think it says Rotary Foundation, and then over to district grants. And on the overview about district grants, there's a whole list of how the clubs have been using their DDF for community projects and for small international projects. So you can also take a look at that.
Sounds good. I figured it's somewhere on the web, but yeah, because I'm not even, yeah, it just, I've not seen any kind of comprehensive list. Yeah, we don't, anyway, yeah, I don't think our club goes through the details, and maybe it's just me that I'm a accountant, so I love detail. So, but that's all good. Yeah.
Which
Thank
club
you.
are you with? Which club are you?
SF West.
Okay, because we could, I could follow up with you. If you put your email address in the chat, I could follow up with you if you want.
Yeah, I have your email address, so I can just email, because you were helping me with something earlier. So yeah, maybe I'll just do that. And it's all good. I'm sure everything's fine, but I'm just, you know, a numbers person by nature. So I was just very curious.
Yes, Mike Watt.
Got a numbers question myself. Could you give us a rough idea of what the DDF is going to be for the new year? And over the past 3 or 4 years, is that number going up or is it going down?
Okay, I prepare a spreadsheet in January and send it out to the president-elect and project based on the contribution for the year through that time, how much the club will have for DDF for the coming Rotary year. I then update that at the end of March, and then it gets a final version July 1, when we have all the figures. But it is a projection, and it does go to the club president-elect so that they can work on what they want to use the DDF for during their term as president. Can't hear you at this point.
The question was just district-wide, what's the total dollar volume, and is it going up or going down over the last several years?
It's around $300,000. It fluctuates. Sometimes it's up a little, sometimes it's down, but it's about that amount of money. The coming year, I think, is $305,000 or something like that. I don't remember exactly, but it's close to $300,000 that's available. Now, again, that's all based on what the fund share contributions were 3 years prior.
Okay, we're getting to the end here. We got about 3 more minutes. Real quick before I think there was one more hand, but real quick, I just want to mention in the chat, there's a request for everybody to go to SurveyMonkey and take the survey for the programs today. We would greatly appreciate that. I've posted it multiple times through the program today and just did a moment ago. And then I think, Michelle, were you looking to ask a question real quick? Sorry, sometimes you see somebody, yeah, like when you move your hair, I thought that was a wave. Sorry about that. Anyway, so we have about 2 minutes left. Are there any final questions before we close up the program? I do want to close it up a few minutes before 11 because this Zoom channel will be used for another program starting at 11. And I'd like to give them a few minutes time to get in and get set up. So any last questions for anybody? If you have a question, just go ahead and unmute yourself and jump in. Okay, with that, I'd like to thank David Hellman for his presentation or question and answer here at the end. I'd like to also thank Cindy Sims for hosting Jane Holbert's video for us today. I greatly appreciate that. And thank all of you for coming here today and enjoying us. I just want to let you know we peaked out at 37 participants, so that's a great number. I was very excited to see that. And hope you all have a wonderful day today and enjoy the rest of the programs. Thank you and have a great day.